Welcome back to The Ticker. We are watching Netflix now. The streaming giant came up short at last night's Golden Globes despite snagging 34 nominations. We have Dan Roberts back with the details. And Dan, 34 nominations, and they only won, how many, 5?
2.
2?
Oh, no. What a disaster.
It is.
The Times called it a humiliating night for Netflix.
Well, I think it was a huge
I thought that was a little
disappointment.
silly. It was a disappointment. Let's make sure that we go over all the streaming contenders. Amazon walked away with 2, Hulu walked away with 2, Netflix walked away with 2, and HBO won 4. And by the way, I would almost say that HBO is also a streaming name at this point, because think of just how many people are experiencing HBO shows, watching them over the top. They're no longer HBO subscribers, they just pay to stream. But if you just look at these streaming contenders, I think it's still another year that reminds us that streaming is where the conversation is. On awards nights and awards season, it's where all the prestige content is coming from. 2 wins or not 2 wins, 34 nominations was just so crazy. 17 in television and 17 in film. And in film, by the way, that was still more than double the second most nominations, which was Sony Pictures, which had 8. So Netflix blew them out of the water. Now, yes, in the end, they only won 2. Oh, no. But as I wrote on the site today, I just think it's another year that reminds us that, you know, these streaming companies are the ones making prestige content, and they are going to stick around. If you think that because Netflix only won 2, oh, the age of Netflix winning awards is over, or it's been overstated, how Netflix is now, you know, dominating Hollywood, I don't think it's been overstated. And if you just look at the spending, that's what guarantees to me that Netflix is going to remain in the conversation. So $15 billion on original content in 2019, including putting up $4 billion in debt financing in order to spend even more on original content in 2020. And Reed Hastings earlier in 2019 at a conference said, our spending is going to go up in 2020. I mean, why shouldn't it? And a lot of the kind of bears out there, the Netflix bears, are concerned about that spending. But most analysts you talk to say there's no reason to be concerned. The margins have been very good. I mean, it's simple math. I mean, the spending can keep going up if Netflix's profit margins are good. And some quarters they haven't been so good. Some quarters they have. But again, I just think that the kind of furor this morning over, oh, Netflix only won 2 was very overstated. I mean, I look forward to seeing what your next guest, Ross Gerber, who's a shareholder, thinks. But I think it would be silly if any Netflix bulls are now freaking out because what a failure Netflix had at the Golden Globes.
All right, Dan Roberts, thanks so much. Let's ask Ross Gerber what he thinks of it. He's CEO of Gerber Kawasaki. And Ross, when you take a look at what happened, do you view it as a Netflix shareholder? Do you view it as a huge disappointment?
No, I mean, it's not a huge disappointment. I didn't think the movies deserved to win. So, you know, Netflix makes a lot of good content. They also make a lot of bad content, but they make a lot of content. And so we expect a lot of nominations. But I think the right movies won. And I don't think it's per se good or bad for Netflix to win awards. Obviously, they want to win awards. I tweeted this morning they spent $15 billion and won 2 measly awards. It's a little bit depressing for all the nominations. There's no question it was a failure. But long term, you know, they're making a lot of good shows. And I think the bigger issues they have is whether it's worth the money. And I think that's the real issue with Netflix, is spending $100 million on advertising for The Irishman, which was a mediocre movie at best. Is this prudent? And so I think that's what's really going to create issues for Netflix moving forward, which is what's the return on all this investment?
Well, Ross, do you think that the investment in original content as it stands right now, how much they are investing, do you think it's justified?
Yeah, I think they have no choice. So it's like now you've got, you know, Netflix had a great deal in the old days where the studios would spend all this money on advertising, promoting shows, and then they'd drop them on Netflix, and Netflix would pay them something, and everybody would sign up for Netflix. And now it's the exact opposite. The studios all have their own streamers, and the previous reporter was talking about the age of streaming. It's absolutely the age of streaming. Not one young person I know has ever signed up for cable. So streaming is the future, and players like Amazon and Hulu and Netflix are certainly, and Disney Plus for that matter, are certainly the future. I think what it really comes down to is with competition, is Netflix having to spend $15 billion, having to borrow billions of dollars a year. Is this going to pay off long term? And I think that's where it gets really dicey over the next couple of years, as we think they're going to lose some U.S. subscribers over the next year, and at the same respect, add a lot of international subscribers that are a lot lower margin. So at 100 PE, you know, at a certain point, you have to wonder if Netflix is severely overvalued.
Well, Russ, I wanted to get your thoughts on the competition, just in terms of how you see it shaking out. You're saying that Netflix could lose some subscribers. Who else do you think is going to gain those subscribers and be winners in this space?
Well, the biggest winner is Disney Plus, and it's our largest position at my firm right now. Disney Plus is doing really well. The price point's great. The bundle's great. The content's off the charts good. So, and then The Mandalorian was hugely successful. So we think that hurt Netflix this quarter, and I think we'll see it in the quarterly numbers. I don't think it's like a devastating blow, but I think the all eyes have been on Disney. And then we've got some new, competition coming with HBO Max, and I think that's going to be legit. And I think, in the future, there's a lot of people making videos in a lot of different places, and the eyeballs are just all over the place. So it gets harder and harder. So Netflix is still the leader, and they're just going to have to fight harder to stay there.
So, Ross, circling it back to the Golden Globes performance, Netflix only winning 2. Do you think it will be different at the Oscars next month?
No. I've seen a lot of the movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just a great movie. It's just a great movie. 1917, great movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been really actually focused on World War I myself lately. And Sam Mendes, great director. It looks like a phenomenal movie. And, Netflix's, #1 contenders aren't great movies. So, it is what it is.
All right, maybe we'll put more emphasis on some of the quality to get you on board next year. All right, Ross Gerber, thanks so much.
Thank you.